Welcome to Love Lies Chronicles.
I don't remember the exact moment I first suspected something was wrong. Maybe it was gradual, like a slow drip of water carving into stone, barely noticeable until the damage was already done. Or maybe it was always there, just buried beneath years of trust and routine. At first, it was the small things. She started staying late at work more often, meetings running over, last-minute projects that conveniently needed her attention at odd hours. I didn't think much of it at first. I mean, people get busy, right? But then came the changes in her appearance. The woman who used to roll out of bed in a messy bun and yoga pants for errands was suddenly putting effort into herself again, too much effort. New clothes, perfume I'd never smelled on her before, lingerie I never got to see. When I jokingly asked if she had a new boyfriend, she laughed. That laugh. It wasn't the warm, affectionate one I'd fallen in love with. No, this one was different. Forced. As if she were hiding something behind it. I brushed it off, convincing myself I was overthinking things. But then she started locking her phone. That was when the first real crack appeared. We never had passwords on our phones before. Never had a reason to. But suddenly, hers required a code. When I asked about it, she shrugged and said it was because of work stuff. Another drip. Her texts became less frequent. If I sent her a message during the day, she'd take hours to respond. Sometimes, she didn't respond at all. Another drip. She started distancing herself from me. Less affection, fewer inside jokes, kisses that felt more like obligations than acts of love. When I reached for her at night, she'd sigh and say she was too tired. Drip. Still, I wanted to believe in her. I wanted to believe that the woman I married, the woman I built a life with, would never betray me. Then came the night that changed everything. We were having dinner, sitting across from each other at the table, the candlelight casting shadows on her face. I told her about my day, but she wasn't listening. Her eyes kept darting to her phone, her fingers tapping mindlessly at the screen. Everything okay? I asked, watching her carefully. She blinked, as if startled that I'd noticed. Yeah, just a message from work. Lies. I didn't say anything. I just nodded and continued eating, but the doubt had already taken root. I wasn't the jealous type. I wasn't the kind of man who checked his wife's phone or demanded explanations for every little thing. But this felt different. This felt intentional. Like she was pulling away from me piece by piece, hoping I wouldn't notice until it was too late. Later that night, as she showered, I glanced at her phone. It was face down on the nightstand, the screen dark. My gut told me to look, to pick it up and find the answers I already knew were there. But I didn't. Not yet. Instead, I lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, listening to the water run. My mind replayed every moment from the past few months, every excuse, every shift in her behavior. A slow, suffocating realization settled over me. I was losing her. Or maybe I already had. But if she thought I was going to sit back and let it happen without a fight, she was about to learn just how wrong she was. I don't know what I expected to find when I finally looked. Maybe I was hoping I'd been wrong all along, that my gut had lied to me and all this paranoia was just in my head. But the truth? The truth was worse than anything I had imagined. It happened on a Tuesday night. She had been acting more distant than usual, barely speaking to me at dinner, giving me one-word answers when I asked about her day. I told myself I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't snoop, wouldn't let myself be that guy. But when she fell asleep, phone still clutched in her hand, I knew I had to. She had been careless. The phone unlocked with her old password, the one she must have assumed I'd forgotten. And there it was. A name I didn't recognize. Messages. Dozens of them. I scrolled, feeling like I was outside my own body, watching someone else's nightmare unfold. I can't wait to see you again. Last night was incredible. I wish I was in your arms right now instead of here. The timestamps told me everything I needed to know. While I was at work, she was with him. While I was texting her goodnight from a business trip last month, she was probably lying next to him. While I was working extra hours to afford the life we built, she was using that time to be with him. I didn't even realize I was shaking. My pulse pounded in my ears, my vision blurred with a mix of rage, disgust, and something else I didn't want to name, something dangerously close to heartbreak. She stirred beside me. I locked her phone and placed it back where I found it, lying back down, staring at the ceiling. I didn't sleep. I spent the whole night planning. I didn't confront her right away. That's what she expected, I realized. She expected a fight, an argument, maybe even tears. She expected me to beg for an explanation, to demand she choose between him and me. But I didn't give her that. Instead, I kissed her goodbye like usual before leaving for work. Her smile faltered for a split second. Maybe she sensed something was off. Good. I waited. For 2 days, I let her think everything was fine. I played my part perfectly, just like she had been playing hers. I still came home on time. I still kissed her goodnight. But inside, I was methodically tearing our life apart, piece by piece. Then, on the 3rd night, she made her move. I was sitting on the couch, pretending to watch TV, when she sat down beside me. "I need to talk to you," she said. I muted the screen and turned to face her. "What's up?" She hesitated, probably debating whether to soften the blow. But then, she straightened her shoulders and looked me in the eye. "I think we need some space." I didn't react. Her confidence grew. She thought she was in control. "I've been feeling trapped lately, like I don't have the freedom I used to. I love you, but I think if we take a step back, it'll help us both." I let the silence stretch between us. Her expression flickered, uncertainty. Maybe? Had she expected me to explode? To cry? "Okay," I finally said. She blinked. "Okay." I shrugged. "If that's what you need." Relief flooded her face. She had expected resistance, but instead, I was making this easy for her. She had no idea. "I think it'll be good for us," she continued, as if trying to reassure me. "I still want to be with you, of course. I need time to figure things out." Translation: she wanted to keep me as her safety net while she explored her new relationship. I nodded. "I understand." She smiled then. A real, genuine smile. She thought she had one. I smiled back. Because she had no idea what was coming next. She thought she had me exactly where she wanted me, waiting, hoping, desperate to keep her. She had no idea I was already gone. The moment she said she needed space, I knew exactly what she was doing. She wasn't ending things, she was securing her safety net. She wanted to keep the stability I provided while indulging in whatever fantasy she had with him. So I did the one thing she never expected. I let her believe she had one. For the next few days, I played my part flawlessly. I went to work as usual, came home on time, smiled when appropriate, and even texted her casually throughout the day. She responded as if nothing had changed. But behind the scenes, I was erasing myself from our life together. The first thing I did was secure my finances. I had been the one handling most of our bills, and I knew which accounts were joint and which were solely in my name. I transferred my savings into a private account, one she had no access to. The credit cards we shared? I paid off my portion, then quietly removed myself as an authorized user from hers. Next, I canceled anything with my name on it. Streaming services, gym memberships, even the auto pay on her phone bill. She wouldn't notice immediately, but the day the payment stopped, she'd have questions. Then, I moved onto the house. We rented, which made things easy. My name was on the lease, but hers wasn't. She had never bothered to handle the paperwork when we moved in. I did it all, which meant I had the power to walk away without a second thought. I spoke with our landlord in private, letting him know I'd be vacating before the month was up. Since I was the primary leaseholder, it was my decision to terminate the contract early. He wasn't happy, but a little extra cash on my end made the problem disappear. Then came my personal belongings. I didn't do anything drastic. I didn't pack up my entire life in one day. That would be too obvious. Instead, I slowly started taking things out of the house. A few clothes here, my laptop there. I started forgetting things at work, like my jacket or my watch. If she noticed, she never mentioned it. And why would she? She thought I was sitting at home, waiting for her to come back. By the end of the week, everything that truly mattered to me was either in my car or at a friend's place. The house was just a shell now, and so was our marriage. The night before I left, she kissed me. It was brief, barely more than a brush of lips, but it was enough to confirm what I already knew. She felt no guilt, no hesitation. She really thought I would stay. So I gave her one last lie. "I love you," I whispered. She smiled and whispered it back. Then, the next morning, while she was out figuring things out, I walked out the door for the last time. No fight, no dramatic confrontation, just silence. By the time she came home, I was already gone. She returned home that evening, completely unaware that everything had changed. I imagined she was expecting the usual, me sitting on the couch, maybe cooking dinner, waiting for her like a devoted fool. Instead, she walked into emptiness. No shoes by the door. No jacket hanging on the hook. No faint sound of the TV in the background. Just silence. She must have hesitated, maybe even called out my name. Maybe at first, she thought I had gone for a quick errand. But then she started noticing the details. The closet door, half empty. The bathroom counter, no razor, no cologne, no toothbrush. The nightstand, nothing but dust where my watch used to be. I wonder when the panic truly set in. Was it when she checked the drawers and realized all of my things were gone? Or when she grabbed her phone and saw no new messages from me for the first time in years? Or maybe, just maybe, it was when she noticed the single white envelope I had left behind on the kitchen counter. No long letter. No angry words. Just a single note written in my calmest, most deliberate handwriting. You wanted space. Now you have it. That was it. Nothing more, nothing less. Because really, what else was there to say? I didn't need to scream. I didn't need to explain. She already knew what she had done. And now, she had to live with it. The call started an hour later. First, one. Then another. Then another. By the third call, she left a voicemail. I let it go to silence. Hey, where are you? I just got home and... I don't understand. Call me back. You don't understand? Oh, you understand. All right. I ignored the message. 30 minutes later, a text. This isn't funny. Where are you? Funny? I wasn't laughing. Another call. Another voicemail. Okay, look, I get it. You're mad. But can we just talk? Please. Now she wanted to talk. Now that she realized her safety net had disappeared. Now that she realized I wasn't the fool she had taken me for. I turned off my phone. I imagined she checked her bank accounts next. That's when she would have noticed the missing funds, the ones I had legally transferred before I left. I never touched her money. She was free to fend for herself. Then came the bills. Her gym membership? Canceled. Streaming subscriptions? Gone. Phone bill? No longer my concern. She would have panicked, scrolling through her banking app, wondering what the hell was happening. And then the lease. The reality must have hit her like a freight train when she found the notice from the landlord, informing her that the lease had been terminated. She was alone. Completely, utterly alone. By midnight, she sent the last text I ever needed to read. Please, just come home. We can fix this. There it was. Not an apology. Not regret. Not even remorse for what she had done. Just desperation. Because she didn't care about losing me. She cared about losing the life I provided for her. And that was the last confirmation I needed. I never responded. She wanted space. She got nothing instead. I woke up to the sound of silence. No frantic calls. No footsteps pacing the floor above me. No forced laughter trying to mask her guilt. Just peace. The weight that had been pressing on my chest for months was finally gone. I didn't realize how suffocating it had been until I was free of it. The night before, I had turned my phone back on, not for her, but for closure. I wasn't disappointed. Her final text sat there like a desperate plea. Please, just come home. We can fix this. But she didn't want to fix us. She wanted to fix her problem. Her problem being the empty house. The canceled accounts. The severed safety net. She wanted me back, but not because she loved me. And that was why I could walk away without looking back. It took 3 days before she finally stopped trying to contact me. Then, out of nowhere, she tried one last time. She sent me a long, rambling message, one that I knew she had rewritten at least 5 times before hitting send. It was full of excuses, justifications, and subtle blame-shifting. I never meant to hurt you. I was just feeling lost. I thought we had lost our spark, and I didn't know how to tell you. Translation: I thought I could get away with it. I thought you would accept it. I thought I could have both lives at once. Then came the final line. But if you really loved me, you wouldn't have walked away like that. I stared at the screen for a long moment. Then, I smiled. And I deleted the message. I found a small apartment across town. Nothing fancy, but it was mine. I worked. I slept. I took time to rebuild myself, not as a husband, not as someone's second choice, but as my own person. At first, I thought the emptiness would bother me, that I would feel lonely. But instead, I felt whole again. I went to the gym for the first time in years. Started cooking for myself instead of for someone who barely appreciated it. And for the first time in a long time, I actually looked forward to my future. She thought I would wait. She thought I would forgive. She thought she could have me and her affair, too. Instead, she came home to nothing. And I walked away with everything that truly mattered.
Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments, and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel.